Hi, welcome to Cooking Matters Connecticut. I'm your host, Kelly Gilbert. Cooking Matters is a nutrition education program that teaches how to eat healthy on a budget. We're based out of the Community Health Network of Connecticut Foundation, and we would like to thank the Curtis C. Robinson Center for Health Equity for collaborating with us on this video series, and the Corsini Kitchen at the Wheeler Family Health and Wellness Center for letting us use this beautiful space. So guys, welcome. We're on to episode 3. Yay! We have some old friends and new friends with us. So today we're talking about the dairy, protein, and fat. So we grouped the dairy and protein food groups together because those are what comes from our animal products. And both of them have protein. So some people that don't eat meat or fish, they can still get protein from the dairy group. We need protein for all kinds of body functions. So we have our hair, our skin, we're actually made out of protein. So I love telling the kids classes that because they don't know that. We're food. So we're made out of protein and we need that. So for our organs, tissue repair, if you work out really hard or have surgery, we need more protein in our diet. So those are the good things. Also with these two food groups, we have to watch out for fat and cholesterol. All right, so going back to my plate. Again, so we're doing our dairy and protein group. So can you guys name some foods in the protein group?
Meat.
Meat, good.
Fish.
Fish, awesome. Good, so meat, fish.
Chicken.
Chicken, yes. So chicken, poultry, so our chicken and our turkey. So all the animals, all the meat. How about some non-animal sources?
Nuts.
Nuts, yes. And which one?
Almonds.
Almonds, good. So nuts, all types of nuts. So our walnuts, almonds, seeds. That's another one we forget about a lot. So pumpkin seeds, sunflower seeds, flax seeds, yes, chia, the stuff that we throw in our smoothies.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So there's actually so many sources of protein. So we have animal sources and we also have our plant sources of protein. Now remember, depending on what you're eating, the serving size is going to be a little different. So when we're eating meat, we actually want a small portion. So this right here is about 3 ounces, about the size of the palm of our hand. So that's about how big we want our burgers to be. Does anyone eat portions this small or do you go a little bigger?
That size.
Yeah, about there, good. So good. So a lot of us go over this. And this is after it's cooked. So a lot of people say, is that before or after cooking? So once we cook meat and it shrinks down, we want about 3 ounces, and that's gonna make it be a quarter of our plate. A lot of us today are eating way much, so like half of our plate, it's like the Flintstones. We have like a brontosaurus sitting on our plate instead of like a little piece of chicken or a pterodactyl leg instead of a chicken leg. So keep it small. For our beans, we want half a cup, and then for nuts and seeds, that's going to be 1 ounce. So a little handful that can actually stay in your hand, not falling out of your hand. So that's your nuts and seeds. Now, as far as protein goes, we tend to think we need more than we actually do. There's actually a formula to figure out how much protein you need per day. And if you want that formula, you can sign up for a Cooking Matters class. We'll have that information for you at the end of the program. But it's basically based on your weight, and it's certain kilograms based on your weight. Now, as far as protein goes, we tend to think of protein as just being one thing. Protein is actually made up of amino acids. So if we say, have you ever heard the expression protein is the building blocks of life? All right, so if protein is the building blocks of life, amino acids are the building blocks of protein. So basically there's 20 different amino acids that humans need. And it's kind of like you can picture a string of pearls. And then depending on the order of the amino acids, they'll serve different functions. So a really good comparison is the alphabet, right? So we have 26 letters in the English alphabet. And then depending on what letters we're using and what order the letters are in, it forms a different word that has a different meaning, right? So that's basically how protein works. Any questions on protein? Yeah.
It's good for people to drinking protein shakes.
The protein shakes, yes, excellent question. So that is so trendy right now. They're everywhere. There's a cupboard. It's not mine, but we actually have a cupboard like bigger than the stove of protein. So they are good for you. They're not bad for you. Usually it's whey protein, or they'll combine different types. The only thing is people are drinking them way more than they really need to. So, on average, we only need between like 40 and 70 grams a day. And, if we have a really big issue, like say we have surgery, you just had your body ripped open, you would need more protein in your diet. But what a lot of workout buffs are doing is, they're doing a couple push-ups. And they're like, oh my God, I need, a 20-ounce protein shake. So they're good, but in moderation. So anything we get too much of will actually end up turning to fat. So a lot of people don't know that. Excellent question. Any other questions on protein? No? All right. Then on to our dairy category. So what are some foods in the dairy group?
Your milk.
Milk, good.
Cheese.
Ice cream.
Ice cream, ooh, yes.
My
Brave. What's that?
My weakness.
I know. I was going to say a lot of people aren't brave enough to say ice cream in a nutrition class. So air 5, yes. So good. So milk, ice cream, cheese, and then yogurt.
Yeah.
That's my weakness, but it's not a weakness. So good. So by definition, it's really anything that comes from milk is going to be a dairy. And again, with the serving sizes, so if we're drinking milk, an 8-ounce glass, so about this size, that much milk would be a serving. Yogurt, that'd be a serving. Ice cream, because it's high in sugar, they recommend more a half cup is a serving. And then for cheese, it'll be an ounce or an ounce and a half. So that's either by weight, or I love it, sometimes you can find the packages where it actually counts for you, so you can just cut it right there. Mm-hmm. I love that.
Yeah.
Any questions on dairy?
Yeah, I have a question. What about your milks, like your almond, your soy, and your coconut?
So with all those milks, so almond milk, coconut, technically those aren't a dairy because they don't come from an animal. But since a lot of people are lactose intolerant, sales have really spiked. So what they do with almond milk, for instance, it's technically not a milk, but they'll soften it, so soak it in water till it's all broken apart really soft, and they'll put it through like cheesecloth and strain the liquid out. Certain nuts, like almonds, are actually naturally a pretty good source of calcium. And then on top of it, they fortify it with more calcium. So yeah, so good thinking. Those are now in the dairy group as well. As far as dairy products go and eating yogurt and drinking milk, why do we do that? What nutrients are we trying to get out of that? Mostly.
Calcium.
Good. So calcium and our vitamin D. And keep in mind, if you're somebody that can't have dairy or, you don't want dairy products, vegetarians, they can, but vegans. You can get a lot of calcium also from our leafy green vegetables. And then as far as the recommendations go, so it goes by age and gender. For the most part, so women anywhere between 19 and 50, they need about 1,000 milligrams. Over 50, we need about 1,200 milligrams of calcium. For men, the range is a little longer, so between 19 and 70, you can get away with 1,000 milligrams, and then 71 or over, then you would need 1,200 milligrams. Okay, so those are all the healthy things about our protein and dairy group. Now let's talk about the scary thing, the fat. Okay guys, so as far as protein and our dairy group goes, we've talked about our nutrients. Now the things we want to watch out for are fat and cholesterol, actually.
What exactly is cholesterol?
So cholesterol is actually something our body makes. So it's a waxy substance. It's actually a type of lipid or fat in our blood, and we make it. So our liver and in a smaller part, our small intestines make it, and we actually need it. It's really important. It has to do with our cell membranes and how our cells function. It's actually a big part of what makes up our cells. So, we talk about cholesterol and, it's become like this bad word, like cholesterol, avoid it. It itself is really important for our health, but because we make it, we don't need to consume it in our diet. But of course, it's kind of inevitable, so we can't completely avoid it. So, awesome. Good question. Okay. And then as far as fat goes, not all fat is bad. So that right there, I just said cholesterol is actually a type of fat. It's one we don't think about as a fat. But fats are actually good for us in some ways and bad for us in other ways. So we actually go really in depth in our whole 6-week Cooking Matters classes. So if you want to learn way more about fat and compare the difference between saturated fat, which is more of our animal products, solid at room temperature, our unsaturated fats, which are more of the foods that are liquid at room temperature, like our olive oils, and then trans fat, which is in a lot of our baked goods. That's actually more of a man-made fat. We go really deep into those and compare, what are they good for, what are they bad for, what should we have more of, what should we have less of. So feel free to sign up for a 6-week series. We'll have that information at the end of the program on how you can do that. So it's not all bad. We do need some fat. So a lot of people, when they go on a diet, they'll try to just eliminate fat from the diet. Don't do that. That's actually not safe. So we need fat. So for one thing, we need it just for protection, our organs. So if we fall, I don't want to land on my liver or my spleen, you want a little cushioning there. Sucks when you're trying to put your jeans on, but we do need a little bit. We also need it for certain functions in our body. It's really just that we want to avoid getting too much of it. So the kind that sticks on our body. And it's about calories as well. So we talked about this with the other food groups. So 1 gram of protein is actually worth 4 calories. 1 gram of carbohydrates is also 4 calories. 1 gram of fat is actually worth 9 calories. So that's one way where if we're eating too much fat in our diet, those calories add up really quickly. And when we have too much that we can't use for energy, that's when it sticks to our body and in our heart. So that's the kind of thing that leads to raising our cholesterol and clogging our arteries, leading to heart attack, stroke, all kinds of heart disease. And then some of them, again, we go more in depth in class, but I do want to say one that we talk a lot about, omega fatty 3 acids. I'm sure you hear that a lot and get more of those. We find those in our fish and our walnuts. That's a type of fat that is a perfect example. We need that in our body. So any questions on that?
Yeah, which fish will be considered the fatty fish that's high in the omega-3s?
Oh, excellent question, because there's so many out there and there's all this, some fish are good, some fish are bad. What about the mercury? As far as our omega fatty 3 acids, that's going to be more of our trout, our herring, salmon, mackerel, all the oily ones, and actually like the ones that smell fishy. So those are the ones that are going to have the highest source of omega-3s. Right? Now I have one more question for you, but I want you to answer it. So this right here, this is fat. So this is what it looks like under our skin. It even has the blood vessels in there. So just by looking at this, can you guys guess how many pounds of fat this is? It's okay to be wrong.
About the pound?
How much did you say?
About the pound?
1,000 pounds?
No, 1 pound.
Oh, 1 pound? Good guess. Any other guesses?
I'll say maybe 20.
20 pounds? That's what I was thinking. It's usually on one range or the other. So Francisco is actually way closer. So this is only 5 pounds. So it just shows you a small number, but a really big amount, So, when we gain weight, it happens slowly, but this is only 5 pounds. So one thing I always like to say is, if you're ever trying to lose weight and you only lose only 2 or 3 pounds, you've lost half of, this model. If you lose 5 pounds, you lost this giant amount all around your body. So congratulate yourself, No such thing as only 5 pounds. You've done well. It's a lot of work to get that off. And a pound is 3,500 calories, in fact. So you have to burn 3,500 calories a week. Yeah, and you would lose a pound a week. So to continue on playing with fat, I'm going to put this model down, and we're actually going to do a really awesome activity called Blubber Burger. So this activity, who here likes fast food or restaurant food? No, just me, just the nutritionist? Oh, God. That's what I thought. Crew, yeah. So we're going to do an activity called Blubber Burger. And now, this is really good math to know. So for Blubber Burger, we do a lot of hands-on activities in class. So we've done some label reading in certain classes. We're going to do a sugar activity in the class you graduate in. This really drives home the point. So it's not all just discussion. You know, when you do something, it really gets in your head. So for this activity, what we do is I'm going to teach you the formula to see how much fat is in something you eat. Okay, so this is 1 teaspoon, an actual teaspoon, so measuring, I'm not exaggerating anything here. This is a regular teaspoon. 4.2 grams equals 1 teaspoon. Okay, so 1 teaspoon can hold 4.2 grams. To make the math a little easier, we're gonna just round down to 4, so forget the decimals. So to get an actual visual on how much fat is in a certain food, you know, when you read your nutrition label, you can count how many grams of fat there is, and then you divide it by 4, and that'll tell you how many teaspoons of fat is in that food. Okay? So that comes with our reading labels, which we've practiced before. We'll practice some more in another class as well. All right. So this right here, I started, and I got to add a couple more on there, but I got this mostly started. So this is a representation of a very popular fast food burger joint, okay? So I'm not gonna say which one, don't ask me which one. Lawsuits. But honestly, one's not really much better than another. So this is one of their signature cheeseburgers and a large fry. All restaurants have to have their nutrition labels somewhere. So you know, you might notice sometimes the menu are starting to have those now, but online, or you can request a paper copy, they have to somewhere have this information available to tell you how much fat is in a burger, how many calories are in the fries, and all of that. So for this one right here, this example, this is a cheeseburger and fries, a large fry, okay? So this one meal had about 80 grams of fat in it. So, and you can guarantee a lot of that is saturated fat at that, which is, you know, the stuff that raises our cholesterol. So this meal, if I was to order it, has 80 grams of fat. So I'm going to divide 80 by 4, and that's going to tell me, who's good at math, how many?
20 teaspoons.
Yeah, there you go, 20. So there's 20 teaspoons of fat on this in this meal. So here's what it looks like. So I already did 18 of the teaspoons right now. So I'm just going to add a couple more, and then you guys are going to practice with yours. Okay. So not exaggerating, regular teaspoon. So we already have 18 on there. All right. No, I'm not afraid. I'm just going to be gross and get my finger on it there. So there's 19. Oh yeah. 20.
Wow.
So as delicious as a burger and fries is, that is a sometimes food. So that is what I'm eating. And this right here, you know, this is just lard that you can find. And that's basically what it's going to turn into. So it looks delicious, right? It's golden fries and a juicy, you know, cheeseburger. But what happens is after you eat that deliciousness and you process it, this is what it's basically turning back into. This is what it kind of looks like when it's lodged in your arteries. So who wants to get a burger with me? So let's do some comparisons because I really want this to get home. So, so Francisco, you'll do a chicken restaurant, okay? Fried chicken. And you're going to do a taco place?
Okay.
All right, so we have a list. You can pick a couple different things, some chicken, some sides. You can do a taco, burrito, whatever combination you would order, all right? And then you're gonna do the math yourself. And so Brenda, so you're doing a taco place. So what do you have? What would you be ordering?
So I have a bean burrito, 10 grams of fat. A bean burrito with steak, 16 grams of fat. A taco with sour cream and all the goodies, 9 grams of fat.
Only way to eat it.
And I have a total, so that's a total of 45. So divide that by 4, you come out with 11, with a little bit over, so 11 teaspoons.
All right. All right, you're all finished with yours while she's starting hers? Let's look at that. Oh my, so that's some fried chicken, a side, right?
The chicken breast original, drumstick, and mashed potatoes with gravies. 59 grams is 14.75.
Wow, so that's what's going in your body if you eat that. That's the best part too. It's like, ew, like, right? We're not thinking ew when we're eating it. It's delicious when we're eating it. Woohoo. Wow, so that's like your taco place. That's your chicken, and here's the burger joint. So, cheers. Am I allowed to pay somebody $10 to eat it? No. You know, in the teens classes a lot, for all the things like that they won't eat, you know, like when you're cooking, this is the one activity they're like, can I eat it?
Oh,
like, okay. I mean, I can't physically stop you, right? So. All right, well, being inspired by that, so the recipe we're actually making today, we're actually going to make turkey tacos. So we're going to have something every bit as delicious, if not more, than whatever taco place that was. And we're going to have way less fat. We're going to use healthier meats. You know, we'll talk about some of the tips while we're cooking it. For the chicken, we actually have this amazing recipe. It's these two, actually. Go figure, the two that mimic fast food. That just occurred to me. So turkey tacos is one of our most popular recipes. And for a side dish, we're actually going to do hummus. So instead of, you know, if I was out, you know, it'd probably be like nachos or something on the side. We're going to do a hummus. All right, so what's the first thing we have to do before we
Wash
Wash
our
our
hands.
hands? Okay, so the first recipe we're going to make is the hummus. So this is one of those recipes that needs to chill for a little while. So I'm going to make this first quick, and then we'll get into the turkey tacos. Okay, so to make hummus, super, super easy. I've always had them at the store. Once I learned our Cooking Matters recipe, I'm not even like just saying this because I have to. No, I don't have to say this. It's actually like my favorite hummus out of any brand out there. So what you start with is chickpeas, and I got the low sodium chickpeas. We really don't need all that extra salt, okay? So low sodium chickpeas, a clove of garlic, and I just chopped it up a little bit to help out the blender. Okay. So a little bit of chopped garlic. Some lemon juice. Now this you would do to your own taste preference. You know, the recipe just says, you know, just squeeze a lemon. That can be a little much. So we've actually found a pretty decent balance. A lot of things are tablespoons. So this is 2 tablespoons of lemon juice right here. Okay, so basic hummus. And then a little bit of olive oil. So we have our healthy protein with the chickpeas. Garlic has so many health benefits, really good for the really good for the respiratory system. Okay, we're doing olive oil. And you can do any kind of oil. You could do canola. This is the extra virgin olive oil. So with your different grades of olive oil, the extra virgin is the one they recommend more for dressings and things like this. If you were cooking with it, you'd want regular olive oil that has a higher smoke point. Okay. And then for some seasonings, just a little bit of salt. So it says half teaspoon. Honestly, I always just do a little bit less than a half teaspoon. So you can decrease your salt sensitivity, and I approve of that. Okay. A little bit of pepper, half teaspoon of pepper. And then a lot of recipes will do tahini, so that's a paste from sesame seeds. Sometimes it can be a little bit hard to find. This recipe does cumin, so this is a really good tasting spice. It helps with that golden flavor. And then you're going to do up to a half cup of water. So remember, you can always add things, you can't take them away. So the water is mostly so that your blender will actually work. So I'm going to start with a quarter of a cup, approximately. That's actually mixing pretty good, but I'm just going to add a little bit more water. This recipe will come out a little more watery than the store brand kinds, only because, again, we're not using big industrial blenders. So, and that is it. 5 minutes basically to make one of like the most delicious, healthy side dishes out there. So, low fat, healthy proteins. There's some optional ingredients you could do as well. So if you wanted, there's all kinds of flavored hummuses out there. You could do roasted red peppers. You could throw those in there. Yogurt is another one. So your recipe actually says yogurt. Make sure nobody at your party is lactose intolerant. But if they can have yogurt, it gives it a nice little tang to it as well. So I'm just actually I could pour this in a bowl, or I could save myself some time with dishes and just put the whole blender in the fridge. That's what I'm gonna choose. Okay, so this is our famous turkey taco recipe. So I'm glad I have a lot of hands with me on this one. So for the meat, we've sprayed the pan. With meat, actually, sometimes you don't even need to spray the pan, but we're going to ground up the turkey. And this is one of those recipes where things take time so you can actually get other things done while other things are taking care of themselves. So we have Francisco as our grill master. And today we're doing ground turkey. So, meat comes in different amounts of fat. So if you ever go grocery shopping, you notice how they have like the 93% lean muscle, 7% fat. And then that's usually the healthiest cut. Sometimes you can find a little leaner if you're doing all white meat. The fattiest cut you can generally find is 80% lean muscle and 20% fat. So in another class, we'll read labels and really see the difference in fat content. Fat serves a purpose in cooking. Sometimes with burgers it helps hold them together. But a recipe like this, I went with the 93% lean and 7% fat. So we don't need any extra fat in this recipe. All right, so then while that heats up, he's just gonna ground it up. Just getting started. Okay, now, one thing I love about this recipe too, it's another one of those recipes where we can hide our vegetables. So hide it on the kids, hide it on ourselves. And so you can really do any vegetable. We're going to do a zucchini today. And the way we're gonna hide it is by grating it up. So just like we're gonna grate cheese as the topping later, you can use the skin. So some people think you have to peel it. This is a soft skin. You can just have it right as is. You just want to wash it really good. And zucchini is one I really love to use because that's one of those vegetables that a lot of people don't know how to use. We've grated carrots in this, and that's a more basic one. People have 1,000 things they do with carrots. They use it in a stew, use it in a soup, just have a side, just munch it, put it in dip. But zucchini is one where people are often asking, how do I use a zucchini? How do I use a squash? So this is one really great way to use that. Okay. As far as the meat goes as well, you could choose beef if you wanted. Here's a pro tip. So one way to really, stretch our food budget. Say you had maybe chicken earlier in the week, not even ground up, regular chicken. You could just as easily use those leftovers for a taco. It doesn't just have to be for, your sandwich the next day at work. Good lordy, lordy. All right, well, while that happens. Now for the taco seasoning, those really popular ones that we buy, all the name brands, a lot of them are decent quality and they have a lot of herbs and spices in them, but a lot, if you read the label, the first ingredient is salt. It'll be like cumin flavored salt, or salt, a little bit of chili powder, more salt. So, one way to get healthier is to make your own seasonings. So in your book, there's actually a couple pages on how to make your own seasonings. You can make it has a recipe for taco seasoning, Italian seasonings. It has a really good section that even just gives you a list like, are you in a Mediterranean type of mood? Would you like an Indian spice flavor? And it tells you, these 3 spices would make that flavor. So this is right in your recipe. This is chili powder, garlic powder, some oregano, which is one of my favorites. I could have oregano in anything. I could put oregano in my cereal. And then just a little bit of salt and pepper. So if I was to write an ingredients label, Salt would actually be the last thing on there. That's what we have the smallest amount of. So when it comes to seasoning food, a culinary student taught me once, season every step of the way. So I already have this pre-measured. But as Francisco is doing the grilling of the meat, I'm just going to throw a little in there for now so that the flavor mixes in. And then when we have all the other ingredients, we're going to add some more. And this is browning up really nice. So once we have this browned, then we're going to throw in the zucchini. Okay? The fact that we grated it means it's going to cook up really easy. So if we had, just slices of that, we'd have to put it in a little earlier so that it would have time to soften up. But with this, all the liquid is already there on the surface. So browning the meat means that you're just getting the outside cooked. So it wouldn't be ready to eat yet. The internal temperature wouldn't have killed all the bacteria yet. But what it does is it gets it browned on the surface. Then you can throw in your other vegetables. And some people do it vice versa. But then you throw in your vegetables and then you would cook it more thoroughly. Food safety is very, very important, especially with meat, right? So we can get all kinds of bacteria from meat, salmonella, E. coli. And if you're ever confused, about how hot something should be, you can look it up. But a lot of the packages say right on the label. Okay, so this ground turkey, after you said right on the label, cooked to at least 170 degrees. So for ground meat, the average is about 170. Wonderful, good job. So that is looking perfect. He's not afraid to ground it up. So very good. We're not turning this into a patty, we're grinding it up. So now we can pour our zucchini.
Are you ready for me?
It's just such a fun color too. It's like lime green. Oh, I love that. I can actually hear the sizzling now. Good. So we're gonna add those together. All right, and now with the zucchini in there, we can do a little more seasoning just on that. Okay, and then while this finishes up, we can start doing our toppings. So tacos are so fun. You can do any creative topping you want. We're gonna stick with, some of the most common ones. We're gonna stick with our basic lettuce, tomato, and cheese. So for the tomatoes, we'll just dice them up, and then the cheese will actually grate up as well. So knife safety, you guys, if you're ever walking with a knife, you want to make sure you hold it down and always let people know when you're coming up behind them. So while I throw the ends of these zucchinis out, I'm coming for you. No. So you hold it like eat, but you don't actually do that. So hold it down, coming behind you with a knife. Coming behind you with a knife. That way they know. And then as far as washing the dishes, you actually never want to leave a knife right in the sink. So now to dice our tomato, remember the safest way to cut things is on a flat surface. So this was actually perfect. You did it on instinct. So where the stem once was, you put it down that way. You always want to hold your hand like a claw. That way you can't possibly cut the tips of your fingers off. And then so I'm going to cut this halfway down the middle. This tomato. In a sawing motion. A lot of people just want to press. You want to do a sawing motion. And then you want to put it on a flat surface again. And then to dice the tomato, you can poke a little hole inside there. Depending on how big or small you want your tomatoes to be. All right? And then I'm bringing the knife almost all the way through, but not quite. The stem is actually what's holding it together and going to help us out. So then you come, so with the point of the knife, put it down. And then you just slice a few slices that way, and then you'll go horizontally and have perfect little dices. Okay, so now that we have our meat all brown, our zucchinis in there, we're going to add our pinto beans. So all of our recipes are just a framework. This gives you the general idea, and you can make it your own. So we're doing pinto beans from a can, low sodium, and you could do white beans, black beans, any type you like. Okay? So we do that next, and then you can mash those around. Now for the sauce, so we're not going to have a bland turkey taco. We're actually going to use tomato sauce. So again, another low sodium item you can find, very inexpensive, instead of some artificial flavoring. And you can do crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce, either one works just as well. So we're getting those beans softened up. Those will warm and soften up really quickly. And then we'll pour the tomato in there. And this came from a 15-ounce can. So we have a pound of turkey, so that's 16 ounces, right? Now we added a 16-ounce, well, actually about like a 15-ounce can of beans. So about a can of beans, about a can of meat, however much veggie you want, you know, pick 1 or 2 is good. And then that sauce, it's gonna go in there and then it's gonna thicken up. So we just stir that a little bit. This is also a very budget-friendly recipe. So, you know, turkey and all meat, that's kind of one of the more expensive things we find on our grocery list a lot of the times. So a pound of turkey, on average, it usually costs me at these stores around $3.50, $4. Now to feed all these people here, you know, if I was going to do 2 pounds of turkey, and each pound costs $3.50, that would be $7 right there, just for the protein portion of our meal. Instead, I bought a pound of turkey for $3.50, a can of beans, which was about 99 cents, you know, right around $1, and got a whole nother pound of food for just $1 other. So $4.50 for all this, and this recipe, by the way, makes 16 tacos. So we're in business. Right, now that you got that all in there, you're gonna pour the rest of the seasoning in. And again, that's our chili powder, garlic powder, a little bit of salt and pepper, oregano. And then you can stir that in, and then we can actually just ignore it. So that's one of my favorite things to do in cooking. Walk away and ignore it. Let it cook itself. So now for the hummus, while we have our turkey still cooking, and we're finishing up the toppings for our turkey taco, hummus goes so well with so many different vegetables. This is another great way to get vegetables in your diet. So find something delicious to dip it in. So we're going to have ours with celery, and now Francisco is cutting up some peppers that we can dip in the hummus as well. So peppers are a really fun thing that I learned how to cut a few different ways. So we saw one way, the most common way, where you have it on the bottom and cut around and scoop out the seeds. Another way to, kind of like the lazy man's way, sorry, lazy person's way. You cut off the stem, you can put it upside down, and then, so you know how the white part of the seeds is where the indents are? You actually go about ½ an inch out away from the center. See that? And you cut it so that you miss the pith and the seeds, and then you can see the whole way around what you're doing. So I can cut right around there. Going. Still got my claw going on. And then, one seed. But other than that, then you just have it all in a little basket and you can just chuck it out. Now for our lettuce, so a lot of times those bags of lettuce are on sale. Today they weren't, so I actually just got like a whole head of green leaf lettuce. So that's all right, I just have to do a little more work. So we have the big leaf, and it's going in our taco. You know, I'm just gonna do one at a time. So we just want it like shredded lettuce. So simple way is just roll it up a little bit. And then just mess it. And it's good to have this like slightly serrated knife. And then we'll just have perfect little shreds in our taco. So there you go. All right. Okay, so our tacos are done. You can get a couple tablespoons in each shell, hard shell or soft shell, whichever you prefer. I like a little crunch. Okay. So I'm going to do the hard shell. We have it all buffet style. Our hands are super clean because we have washed them 10 zillion times by now. Okay, little cheese. You know, one tip for getting a little less fat in your diet when it comes to cheese, the sharper the cheese, the stronger the flavor. So that's what extra sharp, seriously sharp, all of those mean. So the more of a taste you get, the less of it you're actually going to need to, you know, really get that satisfaction. Maybe a spoon with the tomatoes. Magic. Right, so the lettuce, tomato, the cheese. Super healthy. All right, so here is our final product. So our turkey taco with the pinto beans, the spices that we made all by ourselves, so they're super healthy, no extra added salt, nothing more than we need. You know, we really connected with our food. We even shredded the cheese. When you buy a block of cheese and shred it yourself, you're actually, you know, possibly getting less preservatives. Sometimes with the cheese, they have to use anti-caking ingredients, you know, which are just some other chemicals in there. Also, you got to work out, right? So we shredded the cheese, shredded our biceps, and then you have earned your meal, right? Hummus with a little celery and pepper. You could do pita chips as well, whatever you prefer, and super healthy meal, and one of my favorites in the book. If you enjoyed this program today, you can participate as well. Cooking Matters classes will help you learn how to shop and cook healthy on a budget, explore new recipes, and overall have fun, meet new people, and gain new skills. If you're in the Hartford area and would like to participate in a Cooking Matters class, please call 860-714-5770 or email healthequity@stfranciscare.org. For Cooking Matters class information across the state, to participate or become a volunteer, please contact 203-303-3908. Thank you.